Mr. Mayor, we're live.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Oro-Medonte Council meeting of Wednesday, December 10th. And before we do the land acknowledgement, I'd like to just go over a couple of housekeeping items. Could you please silence your cell phones while in chamber? And whenever anyone comes up to speak during deputations or open forum, could you take time to adjust the mic so you're speaking directly into the end of it, as this meeting's being live streamed and recorded for YouTube viewership after the meeting. The Township of Oro-Medonte acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people and ancestral territory of the Huron-Wendat. The Anishinaabe include the Odawa, the Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. It continues today as the home for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the historic Métis community in Penetangwisheen. The Anishinaabe people continue to have an enduring relationship with this land, specifically the Chippewas of Rama First Nations, the Chippewa Tri-Council, and the Williams Treaties First Nations. The Huron-Wendat nations also continue to pay respect and protect their ancestors and heritage on this land. We honor the Indigenous history and culture that has thrived for millennia in this territory and the treaties that bind us together as partners in the spirit of a shared, sustainable, and prosperous future. We're all treaty people. Our commitment begins with acknowledging the truth so that we can move forward together towards reconciliation. Miigwech. Madam Clerk, may we have a draft motion to adopt the agenda, please?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that the agenda for the council meeting of Wednesday, December 10th, 2025 be received and adopted as amended. To add 14H, correspondence dated December 9th, 2025 from Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT case number OLT 2500870, townwide bylaw number 2025-092, that's the ward boundary. And then staff's recommendation is to receive for information. And then to withdraw item 18C, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, intermunicipal relationships, City of Barrie.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. May we have a motion to go to past 4 hours if necessary, please, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that Rule 14.20A, as per the procedural bylaw number 2023-043, be suspended in order to allow the meeting to proceed past the 4-hour adjournment requirement if necessary.
All in favor? That is carried. And is there any pecuniary interest to declare at this time from any members of council? Seeing none. Closed session will deal with under item 18. May we have a draft motion, Madam Clerk, for the sets of minutes, please?
Moved by Young, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that the draft minutes of the council meeting held on Wednesday, November 26, 2025 be received and adopted as printed and circulated.
All in favor? That is carried. We have one recognition today. May we have a motion for item 6A, and I'd like to congratulate Miss Robinson Miller on receiving funds from the Simcoe County Bursary Program.
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that the correspondence dated November 14th, 2025 from the the County of Simcoe, County of Simcoe Bursary Program, Township of Oro-Medonte 2025 recipient, Kyla Robinson Miller, be received, and that the recipient be recognized under the mayor's signature.
All in favor? That is carried. Congratulations once again, Kaya, and now we will go. There are no public meetings this week, Madam Clerk, so can we go now to 8? We're on deputations presentations, and I'd like to welcome Ben Craig, planner, property and planning, and Katie Curtin, Assistant Manager of Property and Planning, Simcoe County District School Board. If you'd like to come to the mic, adjust and please proceed when ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of Council. My name is Katie Curtin and this is Ben Craig, and we're both planners for the Simcoe County District School Board. We're here today to request a reduction in construction securities for the site plan control application for the redevelopment of Shanty Bay Public School, which is located at 1871 Ridge Road West. We are currently in the process of finalizing the site plan agreement with the municipality and are anticipating that the new school will be open in September 2027, with the demolition of the existing school to begin in 2026.
Thank you, Katie. So as council is aware, construction securities are collected once a site plan agreement has been signed. These funds may be drawn upon by the township should the proponent or the developer of the project pull out or walk away from the project. Township may then call on these funds to remedy internal site works and external site works that occurred during the project. Given the timeline it takes to build a new elementary facility, as well as the standard rate of collection for securities by the township, the resulting amount is significantly higher than what we are usually accustomed to in the different municipalities across Simcoe County. That being said, we are, as Katie mentioned, we are here tonight to request a reduction in construction securities, and more specifically, a reduction in internal works securities. Requesting that is reduced down to $0, which would reduce the overall amount of securities required for the project by a significant amount. The main reason for this request is the carrying costs associated with a larger construction security number. The board is solely responsible for the cost of that securities number and carrying it for the duration of the project, which in the case of an elementary facility can be for much longer than a residential or a commercial development. With that being said, also the board is required, if we did have to post the securities and the carrying costs, that would come out of the project fund, which would have an impact on the construction budget itself. That being said, we are requesting this given that the Simcoe County District School Board is a provincial entity. Funding has been received for this project by the Ministry of Education, and we are provincially obligated to see this project to its completion. We cannot pull out, we cannot walk away. And the board is obviously looking forward to working with the township to provide the new school and for the community of Shanty Bay. Additionally, as the board is a public entity, we also have an obligation to ensure that public money and taxpayer dollars are not being spent unnecessarily, that we are able to keep costs to a minimum and find any cost savings that we can. With that being said, as an assurance to the township as part of the project, we will be signing the site plan agreement, which is a legally binding document, and it will ensure that the project is completed to the satisfaction of the township of Oro-Medonte. That will ensure, and if there are any costs or any issues with non-compliance, that will be rectified and the board will be on the hook. And the board will also be posting the external works securities if a reduction in the internal works, external works will still be posted. So I'll hand it back to Katie to close this out.
Board staff have been in conversation with municipal township staff regarding this request, and it's our understanding that they are generally supportive of the reduction in securities for the internal works only. We thank council for your time and consideration in reducing the securities for this site-specific project, and we look forward to continuing to work with the municipality to redevelop Shanty Bay Public School. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Ms. Curtin and Mr. Craig. Council, I'll open the floor for any questions or additional information you would want regarding this matter. Councillor Bard.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you, just to confirm, I guess, from staff that they are generally in agreement with this. Please and thank you.
Through Mayor Greenlaw to Councillor Barr. Yeah, staff are in agreement with the delegation, the request. There are measures within the site plan agreement that will require the on-site works to be completed along with the external works, and securing for the external works is appropriate in this case because it ensures that those works will be completed to township's satisfaction. So as far as the request goes, staff are in support.
Thank you. And any other questions at this time? Seeing none, may we have a draft motion for this item, please, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that the deputation by Ben Craig, planner, property and planning, and Katie Curtin, assistant manager of property and planning, Simcoe County District School Board, request for a reduction to the construction securities, site plan control approval, new Shanty Bay School, public school, be received. That section 14.80 of the procedural bylaw 2023-043 be waived. That the Simcoe County District School Board be required to submit securities for external works, contingencies, and be exempted from submitting securities for internal works. That staff be directed to revise the draft agreement for site plan approval file 2023 SPA 02 in accordance with council's direction.
Okay. You've heard the draft motions. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Would you like to speak? We've called the vote, but go ahead and add. Okay, no, it's called. Thank you. If you'd like to go ahead, CEO Benz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted, from a staff perspective, to acknowledge the staff at the school board. As you heard, 2027. This is now the second new school in the township in a couple years. We do have an item later on the agenda about the partnership and the operating agreement, and just want to acknowledge the team. Katie and I had the opportunity to work together on the school in Horseshoe Valley, and really just a great partnership all around, and working together on the needs of the community, both from an education and community perspective. And this is another example of that. So, Katie, if you could maybe take that back to Corey and the team, that relationship is really important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benz. Mr. Curtin, Mr. Craig, thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to, having the school removed and the new one built as soon as possible, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I take it there's no one in the chamber who has anything as far as to be moved up on the agenda. So, Madam Clerk, as far as open forum, do we have any registrations for open forum today?
No, Mr. Mayor, we do not.
Okay. Then we'll move on to item 11, reports of municipal officers for action. 11A, members of council, the floor is open. This is Vanessa Cooper's corporate executive assistant special project administrator schedule. Is there any questions or comments regarding this matter?
Mr. Mayor, this motion requires council to be authorized to attend these.
Oh, this is, yeah, no,
Conferences.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So has everyone reached out to Miss Cooper regarding what conferences they're attending this year? Everyone's done that. If not, then I would ask.
Mr.
Do we want
Mayor,
the list now?
I need the
The list now?
information for
Okay.
the motion.
Okay, so do
So,
you want to go
if-
through them, and then
Yes.
we can collectively, people can let you know who's going to where?
So for OGRA,
Good Roads?
yeah, Good Roads.
I'll be attending that one. Deputy Mayor, were
As
you?
will I, the deputy mayor. I think she had.
Okay, Ontario Small Urban Municipalities.
I think there were others that Vanessa had indicated were going to Ogra.
The only, I know
Oh, was
I
I?
was going and you were going, I didn't
Okay.
see anyone else. And I
Okay.
think the only one that I saw that was on the OSUM was the deputy mayor.
Mhm.
And then, so is there anyone else that wanted to go to OSUM? Is there anyone who is going to, Madam Clerk, you read through it, and rather than me name them off. That would be the easiest.
Amo,
Councillor Hutchinson.
okay,
And if I attend that, I'll be going through county, so I will,
Okay.
I will deal with that directly with county
Okay.
then, okay?
As will I.
Federation of Canadian Municipalities. No?
Good opportunity to go to Edmonton.
Canadian Rural and Remote Broadband Community. Nope. Okay. And the Ontario Association of Police Services Boards. Okay, and no, I think that's it. So I will read the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, please.
And then if it's okay, I'll just fill in the after. That's fine. Moved by Bard, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that CAO 2025-08, Vanessa Cooper, Corporate Executive Assistant, Special Projects Administrator, re-2026 conference schedule for council members be received and adopted. That the mayor and deputy mayor be authorized to attend the Ontario Good Roads Association Conference, Toronto, on March 29th, April 1st, 2026. That the deputy mayor Lavoie, be authorized to attend Ontario Small Urban Municipalities Parry Sound on April 29th to May 1st. That Councillor Hutchison be authorized to attend AMO conference in Ottawa on August 16th to the 19th, 2026. That no councillor will be attending the FCM, and nobody will be attending the Canadian Broadband and Remote Broadband Community Conference. Sorry. And that Councillor Young be authorized to attend the Ontario Association of Police Services Boards Conference, Niagara Falls, on June 1st to the 3rd, 2026. And that the Corporate Executive Assistant, Special Projects Administrator make the necessary arrangements accordingly.
Thank you. Everyone's heard the motion. Call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried, Madam Clerk. Excuse me. We're now at item 11B. Could we have the draft motion, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that OCS 2025-15, Dylan Flannery, Director of Operations and Community Services, Reed Township of Simcoe County District School Board Cost Sharing and Operations Agreement, Simcoe Woods Community Center be received and adopted. That council approve the final draft of the cost sharing and operations agreement with Simcoe County District School Board, and that staff bring forward the appropriate bylaw to execute the agreement.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I'll open the floor now for any comments or discussion. Is there any questions regarding this matter? Councillor Schell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. A question through you to Dylan. In your analysis, the first paragraph on page 2, it's saying the agreement has been drafted in a manner that is aligned with the previously established joint ownership model. In relation to what other model?
Through your worship to Councillor Schell. So the joint ownership or co-ownership agreement was presented to council in April of 2024. So it outlines and establishes the ownership details essentially of the site and the breakdown of internal, external portions of the facilities, what's joint, what's exclusive use. So, and I assume again you're referring to page 2 of the report, not the agreement itself. But yeah, so it would reference again that co-ownership agreement that was finalized and executed in April of 2024.
Okay, thank you. And supplemental?
Yep, please go ahead.
Again, in the next paragraph, down about 3/4 of the way down, just before the township, this is not only are costs or maintenance and capital expenditures shared, but these areas are available for use for the other party when available. So how do we define when available?
Through your worship to Councillor Shell. So though the agreement refers to exclusive use during of the essentially the gym is what it's really referring to around the joint use internal facility portion. So during regular school hours, the southern half of the gym would be exclusive use for the school, the northern half exclusive use for the township. Outside of regular school hours, which is defined from Monday to Friday, 6:30 a.m., I believe, to 6 p.m. Outside of those hours, Monday to Friday, then it would be that the township now has use of the entire gymnasium, north and south portions.
Yeah, just questioning the when available. If it's available, then it's available. When would it not become available?
Through your worship to Councillor Shell, the only references as well, the fact that the reason for that language really just is in essence providing the school as well the opportunity, say, for if there's school large functions, in those rare cases that they'd like access to the entire gymnasium, north and south half, that they would, again, there's a provision in there that establishes the procedure, and they have to, again, I believe it's by May of the year prior, submit their requests for the next year for when that would be the case. And then the working committee would establish whether or not the township has the right to, again, essentially provide them that access, if possible. So when in the cases where there are no township-run programs, if there is a break, or if we have yet to schedule programs and we can then accommodate their requests, then both parties, we would do the same, but both parties would try to make that accommodation as best as possible.
Okay, thank you very much. And then that would probably follow through or make the grounds for who pays the proportionate share of both operating and capital costs. You'd have to factor that in. Okay, thank you.
Through your worship, just to clarify, yeah, so proportionate share is at times defined differently. It's based on use. It can be based on square footage. So it's dependent on what costs you'd be referring to. And if it's a joint use area, at times it'll be, again, then 50-50 if it's a joint use area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Bard.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Dylan. It's more just, I'm sure this is there, but a reassurance that sometimes fire alarms go off inadvertently and lockdown procedures and things. I'm just reassurance that there's communication between the two parties about what happens in those situations, because it could get confusing at times. So please, thank you.
Through your worship to Councillor Bard. Yes, thank you for providing the question ahead of time as well, to make sure I was able to make sure I'm prepared. But so we have performed in terms of fire drills. We're performing those drills together, shared. In the case of a fire emergency or alarm, both facilities are to be evacuated. We're able on our panels on our side to see where the alarm was initiated from, but procedurally we're on the same page and it's outlined. Again, this would be on a higher level. The day-to-day operations manual establishes exactly what those procedures are. But yeah, again, for that example, procedurally, both parties, both facilities are to evacuate.
Supplemental.
Thank you again through you, Mr. Mayor. And there is a specific section on vandalism, and unfortunately it has to be there and fairly clear. Things do get broken inside schools, I know. Could you, give an example of where we might be responsible for something that's been broken, or how we would tell who's responsible for that cost, and possibly what might happen in a situation where something were to get damaged on the outside of the building after hours? Would there be cameras or something, or would that be a general, just shared between both? Please.
Through your worship to Council Bard, there are not cameras on recording the outside exterior of the site. So in that specific example, an unknown would be if it's damage or vandalism to a joint, a portion of the joint facility, then it would be share cost, 50-50. If it was exclusive use, then no, it would be the party whose exclusive use area it is. But outside of that, if you are, another example would be, say, if it was the shared use gymnasium indoors, the way the operating agreement defines it is regular wear and tear would be a shared, again, 50-50 cost. But if it is, say, if it's a user specific to a township program of the gymnasium, a specific example would be, say, if they were to hang on their basketball rim and rip that off during our program, our use, and it is a user of a township, again, run or sanctioned program, we would then be responsible. Something like that, it would maybe be defined outside of regular wear and tear. Any discrepancy would be referred to the working committee and or administrative committee, if necessary, to, again, come to a conclusion there.
Any other questions? Seeing none, then I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried, Madam Clerk. We're now at 11C. May we have a draft motion for 11C, please?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that DS 2025-112, Kamal Burda, Manager of Development Engineering, Assumption of Public Works within Plan 51M1184, Kylie Subdivision, South Shore Caden Estates, Inc., be received and adopted. That the township issued a certificate of assumption for Kylie Subdivision being on registered Plan 51M1184, that the appropriate draft bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration, that the developer be notified of council's decision under the Manager Development Engineering Development Services signature.
Thank you very much. The floor is open for discussion. Are there any questions, comments on this item? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? There are no opposed, and that is carried. We're now at 11D. Ms. Hewitt, would you like to provide a summary of comments, please, on this matter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I would like to provide a few comments. I think each member of council as well as staff are very much aware that the use of artificial intelligence is something that is bringing great opportunities from an efficiency perspective, but as it becomes more and more accessible, it is also become very evident that there are a series of risks that are associated with its use. So the purpose of the attached draft policy is really to establish for us our first set of parameters around its proper use. There will be a series of training that will be delivered as well, because the policy needs to go hand in hand with that training to help staff and council understand the rules of engagement. We've identified 5 key areas of risk that are most important to us, that being the protection of personal information, the protection of confidential information, ensuring that any information that is generated or modified through AI is accurate, so that human oversight will be a very key piece to our policy and our use. Being transparent to the community that we may be using artificial intelligence in some of our materials will be important, because this council has established that transparency as a key value for us. And then finally, from an IT perspective, not all software is created the same, and from a cybersecurity perspective, we have some fairly strong protocols in place. So it will be important for us that the systems that we do use are ones that have been vetted through IT and from a records perspective have also been vetted through the clerk's department from a retention of records and corporate information perspective. This attached policy is our first effort into this realm and does reflect research and engagement with a variety of different municipalities and their pre-existing policies. The County of Simcoe and our IT colleagues do interact on a regular basis, and it is very much right now a topic of conversation, will continue to be so as it evolves. So we are sharing information, we're sharing best practices, and we're sharing our policies because that alignment is really important, and we need to learn together how to do this right. As I noted, there will be training that will be provided, and this does apply to council as well. So we will be looking to provide that training to council, and we will be reviewing this policy. I know I was asked, is an annual review adequate? And in reality, it probably isn't, but at least at a minimum, it will be a policy that is reviewed on an annual basis. But as I say, in reality, as technology evolves, it will likely need to be changed as we adapt and start to utilize more frequently. So those are my comments, Mr. Mayor. Members of council, I'm open for questions.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for producing this policy. I note that under quality assurance, excuse me, the intellectual property issue is, of course, a risk, a great risk. So I think it's important that that be emphasized in whatever training that we do have. Ultimately, and we do have professional staff who have statutory positions under whom errors and omissions types of circumstances could arise. So I'm not sure that I noticed it in there, but I just want to point to that risk as well, because certainly those who practice professionally under a license or whatever could expose the municipality to certain consequences if there were errors and omissions that arose from not ensuring that quality assurance was double checked or whatever from a professional perspective. So I'll just put that out there for now. I know it's evolving technology. It's probably going to evolve more in the year than we can keep up with year to year. So it's better that we get in front of it as much as possible. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. Any other questions for Ms. Hewitt at this time? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Oh, sorry, the motion would maybe help first, though.
Moved by Bard, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that CS 2025-15, Donna Hewitt, Director, Corporate Services, corporate use of artificial intelligence policy. Corporate use of our artificial intelligence policy be received and adopted. That draft POL IT 02 be adopted as presented.
All in favor? Any opposed? There are none opposed. That is carried. And we're now on to 11E. May we have the draft motion for 11E, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that CS 2025-16, Donna Hewitt, Director of Corporate Services, Fees and Charges Bylaw Update 2025 be received and adopted. That Council supports the changes recommended in Report CS 2025-16 effective January 1st, 2026, and that staff bring forward the appropriate bylaw amendments for Council's consideration.
Okay. For the motion, does anyone have any questions in regards to this matter? Seeing none, then I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Now on to 11F. May we have a draft motion for 11F, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Young, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that CS 2025-19, Yvonne Aubuchon, Clerk, revisions to POL ADM 11, POL ADM 12, and proposed election signed by Bylaw 2025-128 be received and adopted. That Council approve amended POL ADM 11, use of corporate resources for election purposes, and POL ADM 20, corporate communications during an election year as presented. That draft bylaw 2025-128, a bylaw to regulate the placement of use of election signs within the Township of Oro-Medonte, and to repeal bylaw number 2018-033 be brought forward for council's consideration.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. So here, just give me some advice how the best way to handle this. The deputy mayor did have some questions we missed from the last item. So can
sure.
we?
Before the vote is called, we can go back to that.
Do you need me to call a motion a motion to break from procedure to go back and just comment?
I think if we have general consensus, that's fine.
Okay, so everyone's fine with that? Okay, so Deputy Mayor, if you'd like to make a comment to the prior item, please.
Yeah, please forgive me. I did want to comment because there was some information received from a resident, and I thought it would be an opportunity to take a look at some of those fees and charges aspects, and then come back with a report on those in the second January meeting that we have in 2026. So having said that, I think we had prepared to, is that acceptable to take general instructions on that, or how should we? Yeah, and it was specifically related to parking fees and fees that were charged for those parties visiting the township who were not residents, and ensuring that they maintained a pace that was appropriate with both the consumer price index or inflation and any reasonable fees that could be charged differentially from residents. So
okay, so I guess what I need clarity would be, are you asking us to defer that item in order to come back and be voted on at the next council meeting in January versus past?
well, maybe what would be the best way to handle that, Ms. Hewitt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the deputy. This resolution that you just passed dealt with the report specific and 3 schedules, that being administration, operations, and drinking water. So I believe that perhaps the way to deal with it would be to deal with the report and the resolution as you have. And then we have looked at the bylaw and have considered the request because it was provided to staff as well, the concern from the resident. So staff are aware of what that concern is. So when you deal with the bylaw, perhaps we can deal with that one bylaw separate from the balance, and we can put direction in there that the respective director report back on that schedule specific to those parking permit fees in January, as you had suggested. So we could deal with that during the bylaw discussion if that would work.
Thank you very much. Indeed, it would.
Okay, so we can now jump back to F, and members, the floor is, you've heard the motion. The floor is open. Is there any discussion or any questions or comments regarding this matter? And I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? There are no opposed, so that is carried. Now
And just for clarity to the public, that was item 11F. The motion was read. We reverted back to ask a question on the previous item, and now council has just voted on 11F.
Well, it is kind of amazing that we're entering 2026 next year, so I guess that election bylaw sign component kicks in next year. Okay. Time flies. There are no reports of municipal officers for information only. We're at 13 now, which is reports and announcements of members of council. Are there any updates from council as far as township representatives with our partners or agencies, or announcements anyone would like to make? Councillor Hutchison?
Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. Through you, I just wanted to share some results of what's called the Giving Weekend in Horseshoe Valley. This has been going on for many, many years and has been spearheaded by the Horseshoe Valley Property Owners Association with the collaboration of the Oro-Medonte Fire and Emergency Services, in particular Luke and Mark, Barb Shopland and Lisa Banks, and a group of gentlemen that they call themselves the Back Porch Boys, and many, many community volunteers. We enjoyed the toy drive once again this year and the food drive, and so the results are as follows. The toy drive, we were able to collect 195 toys and $5,435 in donations. Our food drive collected 2,248 pounds of food and $4,484.20. I don't know who was putting 20 cents in, but were donated. So the total monetary donations from our community to the Salvation Army was $9,909.20, and another $1,955 donated to the Sharing Place. So my sincere gratitude to the community and how they come together and do this every year for those families that are so desperately in need of assistance all year round, but particularly at the Christmas holidays. So I'm just so pleased to see this happen again this year and be so successful. I also just wanted to mention that, as you probably know, the county did make some changes to the speed limits along Horseshoe Valley Road and Line 4 in the new school rec center area. And they have moved with speed on that. In fact, all the signage is up now. And there is still flashing school signage that will be installed in January. But commentary I'm getting from the community is there's already been a noticeable reduction in the speed through that area. And people are very grateful for the change. And so I just wanted to give an update on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hutchison. And Councillor Barb?
This weekend on Saturday is the best Santa Claus parade in Oro-Medonte in Warminster, so come check it out.
Yes, I never pick one community over another, but I will say it is the longest or the most linear Santa Claus parade in the township. So, but hopefully we get great weather and everyone should come out. They do an amazing job, just like every other Santa Claus parade in this township. Okay, Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Yes, thank you very much. I just want to take the opportunity to say that the mayor and I had attended a seminar, I'll call it, presentation by Minister McCarthy and the Chief Conservation Officer, Hassan Bassat, with regard to the proposed amalgamation into 7 regional conservation areas, combining the existing 36. It was well attended by people in this region, and definitely I think the salient issues for those having concern, as we all do, are that the existing buildings and infrastructure will remain, as will the people who work out of those facilities. That's been an assurance. The assets of those conservation authorities will be ascribed to the region where it makes sense and to the existing association where it also makes sense. So locally, there will be similar municipal structure, although as the structure of the region suggests, there will be no longer 36 boards of directors, there will be 7, and they will, the manner of their selection is yet to be determined. In addition to that, there will be a board of directors for Conservation Ontario itself, comprised of 8 to 12 members. So that would oversee all of the 7 regions and the Chief Conservation Executive. And that's pretty much it. The intent is that the efficiencies will be realized by amalgamating a lot of the current duplicated undertakings for administration, such as IT, HR, permitting, that type of thing. And the idea is also to create a set of standards that all of the conservation authorities can work to. And a big part of that will, of course, be risk management and how risk management is done in different areas, whether it's dynamic beaches or whether it's flooding or any other hazard that a community faces. So none of that on the ground boots and knowledge will be lost. Those people will still be working in the same areas, and but they will be working to a different permitting process that will be universal across the province. How that rolls out over the next year will depend on how what the feedback is and how people participate and what offers of constructive criticism they offer and what solutions they offer. They were pretty clear that the kind of solution to be offered was no, we want to go back to the way it was. That's not going to be the outcome. So I think if we all work constructively, we will get to a place that will provide us with more boots on the ground, more technology, more engineering, and more science, and better protection by having more of the assets that we spend and more of the tax base that we expend into that service directed, directly to the protection of the environment. So, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. No, and as the deputy said, very informative meeting. I think where the focus needs to be put on is how does each CA best position themselves, because the amalgamation is taking place, but how does the CAs best position themselves to ensure that the watersheds and the environment in those areas is properly and best protected moving forward? Because at the end of the day, that is still the number one priority that they're mandated to fulfill. So, I know we all are to a certain degree tribal, and we're worried. Some people worried about losing the name of their conservation authority. It's merely a label. I think when we break things down, and this is how we come collectively together to execute much more efficiently with standardized processes, and really the biggest point will be how do you standardize things that are effective, realizing there's got to be a component of customization between zones. But the Conservation Ontario has taken a very engaged and proactive way to try and make sure they get this right, and it will take time to phase it into where the end goal or objective is. So, is there any other reports or updates at this time? Okay, then we'll now move to 13B regarding to the deputy mayor position. Councillor Hutchinson, would you like to take this one, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. Just with regard to the deputy mayor position, as we know, when we first came to council, we were kind of left with this decision that we had to make without a blueprint as to how it was going to work from how a deputy mayor was going to be appointed and what their remuneration would look like, et cetera, et cetera. So we had to figure that out, and nearly 4 years ago now, we decided to split the position. And I must say that I'm very pleased that council had the faith in me as deputy mayor for 2 years. But a year ago, I didn't feel that it was the appropriate time for me to do so. We were right in the middle of the annexation negotiations between ourselves and Barrie, and I'm a big believer in continuity. And the fact that, the deputy mayor and the mayor had been so deeply involved in that at that point. We're up to the last year now, and if I'm thinking about continuity, and the strength around this table, for me to step into the deputy mayor position at this point, I just don't think it's the right time. The deputy mayor has made great strides at the county level in building relationships with his county counterparts and colleagues, and you also serve on some boards, I believe, that are related to county. You have a really good understanding of the workings of that and how that dovetails into what we do here at the township. And I just, I feel very strongly that that is what should continue. For me to step in at this point, I don't see that being a benefit to this table or to this council. And so therefore, I will very graciously suggest that Deputy Mayor Lavoie continue for the last year in his position as Deputy Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions in regards to this? I agree, and I truly do respect Councillor Hutchinson for giving up that duty for the betterment of the township. I guess what it comes down to is, and it's not common that the deputy mayor is a 2-year term. We took on something where there was an appointment at the time. We wanted to give, because we were all a brand new council, a chance for everyone to kind of experience for whatever their plans may be in the future. But unless the alternate is constantly at everything for a year into that transition to be equipped with everything, we would potentially lose momentum. So I think the best. I think what Councillor Hutchinson has put forward is a very a good solution, and we still have a lot of work to do in the last year. But we've all collectively done a great job over 3 years of the term, and I know we will continue to have great success in the last 10 to 12 months. So thank you for bringing that forward. And Madam Clerk, is there a motion regarding this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have prepared a motion based on the information that was provided by Councillor Hutchison. Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that the correspondence presented by Councillor Laurie Hutchison, re 2026 Deputy Mayor position from 2022 to 2026 council term be received. That council approve to appoint Peter Lavoie as Deputy Mayor for the Corporation of the Township of Oro-Medonte for the remaining 1-year term of 2026. That the applicable draft bylaw be brought forward in January 2026 for Council's consideration.
Okay. Any questions regarding the motion? I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried.
And then just for clarity, Mr. Mayor, that bylaw, when brought forward in January, will be retroed to January 2nd, the start of business in the new year.
Okay, no, perfect. Thank you very much for that clarity. Okay, so now we're on to the consent agenda. Is there any items that you'd like to hold to consider change other than the staff recommendation, or anything that needs to be discussed? Deputy Mayor Lavoie? It's G, maybe G. I know G is one that I think needs to be pulled.
Yes, item G, the Environmental Registry of Ontario.
Item G.
Maybe we should pull item H for discussion as well.
Okay.
Or
so, Madam Clerk, can we pass? Want to pass all the other consent items first, and we'll come back and deal with G and H in that order?
I will read a motion to that effect.
Perfect. Thank you.
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that staff recommendations with respect to the items listed on the consent agenda correspondence be adopted as amended and printed, with the exception of 14G and 14H to be voted on separately.
All in favor? And that is carried, Madam Clerk. So can we, we'll deal with item G and then H. So Deputy Mayor Lavoie, would you like to start off with item G, please?
Yes, thank you very much. In keeping with the earlier discussion or announcement about the consolidation of the conservation authorities, I believe it's probably appropriate at this time to withdraw our prior motion to amalgamate the Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority and the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, as it is now redundant, given that the province is undertaking to do that in any event. So with regard to that, we had prepared a motion to withdraw the prior motion, and I would, which I will move, and I believe Councillor Clark will second.
Okay. Is there any other comments in regards to this? Then I will hand it over to Madam Clerk.
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that item 14G, correspondence from the Environmental Registry of Ontario, re-proposed boundaries for the regional consolidation of Ontario's conservation authorities, deadline December 22nd, 2025, 11:59 p.m. be received. That in recognition of the provincial direction to modernize Ontario's conservation authorities, that Council of the Township of Oro-Medonte hereby rescinds motion C250122-13 in its entirety past January 22nd, 2025, which directed a process under the Conservation Authorities Act to consider the amalgamation of the Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority and the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority for efficiency and effectiveness improvements. That the township affirms its support for the province of Ontario's direction to modernize conservation authorities while ensuring that critical environmental protection and core service delivery functions are maintained, and that this resolution be circulated to the province of Ontario, the Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority, the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, and all partner municipalities for their information under the mayor's signature.
Thank you very much. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, could I just have an explanation from my colleague on the no vote? Is that permitted?
Your colleague does not have to answer, but if he wishes to reply, I'll leave it up to he wishes not to reply. Okay, no, fair enough. Okay, now we'll go on to item H, which is the OLT 25-00870, the town-wide bylaw, and this is in regards to the ward boundary adjustment for the 2026 election. Who asked for that to be pulled? Councillor Hutchinson, would you like to speak to this, please?
Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. Yes, I see we've received a notification that the appeal was withdrawn. I have a couple of questions. Number one, have we been provided a reason as to why it was withdrawn?
Yes, a letter from the appellant was submitted to the OLT advising of the reasons.
And is that has not been shared in our package? So
it can be requested through the OLT. My apologies through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Secondly, have we incurred costs to date on this particular matter?
We would have incurred costs with respect to preparation for in anticipation of the OLT. The submissions were done to the OLT as per the deadline of December 8th. And so those costs would be incurred from both the consultants and legal costs and staff resources, which, you know.
Yeah, hard to put a dollar value on that.
What they are at this point,
Mhm.
we are not sure because we have not received the invoice, but.
Okay, so we will be able to determine what that is in the future. At a certain point, we will be able to get a handle on what that would have cost the township?
That's correct.
Okay. And my final question then is, once we have that number, is there any opportunity for us to look for recovery?
Since there is a withdrawal, I don't believe so, but staff will look into that.
Okay. Any other questions regarding this matter? Deputy Mayor Lavoie?
Is there any further meeting, case management meeting or anything with the OLT, or is it just now dropped and the parties send letters to the OLT to confirm that the matter is now adjourned or closed, or whatever the appropriate term would be?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the deputy. No, as soon as a withdrawal is received, confirmation is received from the OLT advising or confirming that the scheduled hearing has canceled and a withdrawal is a withdrawal, so it's effective immediately.
Okay, thank you very much.
No, that's great. So any other questions regarding this? If not, then can we have a motion on this, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, before we proceed, I will note that now bylaw 2025-092 is effective for the 2026 election, and staff is in the process of doing those corrections with the Elections Ontario. So that process has commenced.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, Deputy Mayor, you have one other comment?
Yeah, oh, sorry, yes, I just wanted to say that for the public's purpose, and I guess the purpose around the horseshoe here, this leaves only 2 OLT cases outstanding, one with regard to some properties being developed along the lakeshore, and the second being the challenge to our official plan, both of which were commenced prior to this council. So all I would say to that is that, you know, we've cleaned up for the most part the legacy cases that we had left to us, and hopefully by the time we get early into the new year, we'll have the balance of them finished up. So thank you for that, and we'll have a clean slate very soon.
No, that's a great note because you know, and it's like it's expected when a new council takes seat. You're not going to always get a clean slate to deal with, and but we've had a number of challenging legacy files that have gone on for over 14, 15 years, and it will be nice to put those to rest. It will also allow our staff to focus on the daily stuff and us to focus on where we take this township forward in the future. Councillor Hutchison.
And may I add that in order for us to have done all of that work, it did cost legal fees. There's, you know, people in the public screaming about legal fees. Well, that's what we're doing, is we're cleaning up these legacy files, and they have to be dealt with in closed session. So that's why we would have the number of closed session meetings that we have, because we had a number of very complicated legal matters in front of us, and it's quite simple that's why we would have to do it that way.
And that's the way it is. You know, council will always have legal matters to deal with, and that's why we do have closed sessions. And it's not from not wanting to be transparent. It's about making sure we get our strategies together, and the opposing sides don't have our strategies in their lap in advance. So, okay. So, Madam Clerk, we have a motion for this item, please.
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that correspondence dated December 9th, 2025 from Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT, case number OLT 25000870, Township-wide bylaw number 2025-092, be received for information only.
All in favor? That is carried. Now we're at item 15A. May we have a motion for this item?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that the correspondence dated November 25th, 2025 from Jessica Knowles, Executive Director on behalf of the Oro-Medonte Chamber of Commerce and Tourism, RE 2025 funding request be received. That the request to release the approved 2025 funding allocation in the amount of $15,000 be approved, and that the Oro-Medonte Chamber of Commerce and Tourism be advised of Council's decision under the Director of Corporate Services signature, and staff proceed accordingly.
Are there any questions or comments in regards to this matter? Seeing none, then I'll call the vote. All in favor? Oh, hang on,
Sorry, I just wanted to ensure that the outcome of this would be that the Chamber of Commerce would indeed receive their 2025 allocated budget amount free of any encumbrances.
Ms. Hewitt?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the deputy, yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. So, call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Item 15B. May we have a motion, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that the correspondence dated November 27, 2025 from John Heward O'Dwyer, LLP, RE Office of the Integrity Commissioner, Year-End Report 2025 be received.
Any comments, questions on this matter? Councillor Hutchison.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. Through you, I did contact Mr. Ewart's office with a few questions with regards to activity in the past year. And I'll note that some of the billing is actually from IC investigations that happened last year, but then we didn't get billed until this year. But my question to Mr. Ewart's office was, did we have anyone, one person making multiple IC complaints? And the answer is yes. We have had one individual in this year file 3 separate complaints. And if, we look at the cost of this to the taxpayer, it's $23,000 in legal fees this year. And the majority of these complaints are not found not in contravention of the code. So, it just causes me to ask why an individual would be wanting to use our tax dollars in this way, and just, make it my feelings known that, when I break the numbers down on this, it's I would say perhaps some frivolous activity happening, which is really unfortunate because it's everybody who's paying for this. So thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Councillor Hutchison. Those things are concerning, but I think every township has those individuals or groups that may conduct themselves, and all I would do is recommend that, communication can help us overcome the differences sometimes, and at least have a better understanding of one another, versus filing a workload onto an integrity commissioner that doesn't come free. So, as I would recommend to everybody, before you file, reach out, try and find resolution without incurring significant tax dollar investment onto something that may not be necessary. Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with what's being said with regard to these. They're frivolous or vexatious, one or the other, because they don't actually constitute an argument against a behavior or a conduct. And that's disturbing, because really what's happened in them is that the complainant has enumerated a number of clauses under which they believe a misconduct has taken place, but have not pointed to the misconduct itself, asking only the Integrity Commissioner not to adjudicate, but to actually lay the charge. In other words, make the connection between what the conduct is and what the violation is. So this is concerning, and this is why I think, if you look at the case numbers that are listed there, there's big gaps between them. So obviously the Integrity Commissioner has other clients, and between those are other cases. So the reason for the delay in a lot of these cases is simply that, there's nothing to report on, in essence, because there's no connection made by the complainant between the actual conduct and the code itself. So I think, as the mayor has said, if you feel that any of us are not conducting ourselves appropriately or conducting ourselves in violation, then reach out. There's a phone, and the phone call's pretty cheap, so it's not hard to do, and we're all pretty amenable individuals, and we do answer our phones. So, please call if you have concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, have we read the motion on this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we
Okay.
have read the motion. We just need to call a
Okay,
vote.
thank you very much. Okay. All in favor? That is carried. We're now at item 15C. May we have a motion for this item, Madam Clerk?
My apologies, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Young, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that the correspondence dated November 28, 2025 from Julie Cayley, Executive Director, Severn Sound Environmental Association, SSEA, Provincial Conservation Authority merger implications for SSEA member municipalities be received for information, and that staff be directed to continue to work collaboratively with SSEA to assess and address potential impacts to source protection programs. That SSEA be advised of Council's decision under the Director of Development Services signature.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions on this item? Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Yes, thank you very much once again. I just wanted to say that I'm very much personally in support of seeing the SSEA somehow fall under the jurisdiction of the amalgamated conservation authorities. The reason being, they've had, from what I can understand, that they've had administrative difficulties all along because they're not a legislated conservation authority. So it gives them some difficulty with regard to status and the ability to get qualified resources to handle some of their administrative functions. So I would be very happy and would invite the SSEA to come to these chambers and make a representation of some kind around this, and I would be very happy to support that. And I think it would also help our own circumstance, because we wouldn't be then left with a regional conservation authority and an environmental association as two components to deal with. The undertaking to combine the NVCA and the LSRCA was to get down to two, And hopefully we might be able to, through this measure, get down to just one and simplify our budgeting and hopefully streamline our costs and finally give the SSEA a solid footing on which to stand.
Thank you. Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Greenlaw. And yes, we haven't, as a board member, we haven't really discussed the implications of this yet, but I will be meeting with Julie Cayley and some other board members next Monday, and I do have this on my list of questions for her.
Thank you. Any other comments on this matter? CAO Benz?
Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. Maybe just for some additional context for council, this letter was really around some of the member SSEA municipalities being depicted as part of the region. The regional review for conservation authorities when they don't have conservation authorities. So it's very much a generic letter in that regard. Ms. Jacoby and I did have a discussion with Ms. Cayley earlier today. Deputy, your points are well taken. And I think as council is aware, there is a review, a service review that's currently being undertaken by the SSEA. The way the resolution is crafted is really around the core risk management function of source water protection programs, and we understand that that is excluded. So some of those non-core water monitoring, water quality pieces for Bass Lake, those kinds of things, those are some of the things to the point around potential economies of scale and how that gets looked at is certainly a consideration. So just wanted to provide that context. There are a number of moving pieces here, and really kind of the intent of this communication was to address some issues with the areas and some errors I think that happened with the mapping.
Yes, no.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO Benz. And yes, it was great to see because Ms. Cayley is taking a proactive approach. She was in attendance at the seminar this week in the workshop, and I think it is important that we do understand that she plays a big role in this township and a number of other townships under source water protection, and it's all interwoven. So it's important that we do, and I'm sure that the Conservation Ontario people understand that quite clear as well, and they will do everything possible through their phase processes, how they're as they fulfill their objective. So, okay, so I'll call the vote on this matter. All in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. That is carried. We have no notice of motions on this meeting, so we're at item 17, bylaws. Members of council, are there any comments or questions of any of these bylaws? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, the one bylaw that there was a question on will be pulled for separate discussion with respect to the parking fees.
The fees, D?
And that will be in the resolution, in the motion.
Okay. So if there's the other ones then, if no one has any questions, we'll pass those to get, oh, sorry, Councillor Schell.
Yes, excuse me, the bylaw, E, is that, I didn't hear you clearly, Madam Clerk. Which
The
was being
operating
pulled?
agreement.
I'm sorry?
The operating agreement between Simcoe County District School Board and Oro-Medonte.
Yes, yes, item E. I have a few questions about that. I'm kind of like, first of all, I have difficulty understanding the sequence of events where the draft agreement is now before us after the project has been completed, rather than having an agreement prior to the construction. I don't know if.
But I believe the operating agreement. So I'll let staff, if you're directing this to a staff member.
Yes, thank you.
So you're directing it to CO Bins or?
Yes, thank you. So can you help me understand the reason for this, the meaning of it? How come this is coming after the construction site has been completed before we entered into an agreement for operating and
Certainly. I think there's a lot of things that go into it. I think Mr. Flannery's report speaks to how this project has evolved. The project was just completed in September of this year as well. So there's been a lot of back and forth just in terms of how the fundamental principle of fair share and or proportionate share rather, how that's determined. And we spoke previously about some of the variables about utilization, a governance committee, some of those elements. So that's why it's before council at this point, that the agreement is just finalized now. We're just starting to get some of those invoices in for utilities and some of those components. The joint venture and cost sharing agreement was the fundamental piece that talked about joint ownership, how the capital cost would be shared, all of those elements. So, ideally this would have come forward, a couple months ahead of the opening of the school, but there were lots of things that we needed to go back and forth and get agreement on the school board with. So it is timely. I can tell you from my previous experience with the city of Vaughan that we had the city had a partnership with the Catholic school board, and there was no operating agreement until 7 years later when things started to get broken and really looking at how that was going to evolve. So as I said, I think it's taken some time to get to this point. But all the elements are there, and I think it's the agreement that is before provides the flexibility that's required for a long-term partnership that will exist well after all of us really are here dealing with the matter. So,
Supplemental. Thank you for that answer. So can you please clarify who owns the site?
Mayor Greenlaw through to Councillor Schell. There is a hyperlink to the joint venture agreement that is in Mr. Flannery's report. That's articulated in the joint venture agreement. It is a tenant in common approach, so we're joint owners of the site. The operating agreement stipulates who has exclusive use over each of those areas and how we share use of the common elements. So the parking area, all of those components is shared. How we determine proportionate capital costs. So let's take the septic system, for example, or a roof. Those replacement pieces are in the capital joint venture agreement. These are the ongoing operating costs.
Okay, and then one final one, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Since the development of the property, was any property severed or separated for future use for the township alone? Or is it all one big lump?
There is. So there is a second phase that was planned, and I think there's been previous reports on that. I think there's a schedule in the agreement that shows where the extended footprint would be for the township second phase. As you'll likely recall from the evolution of the project, it went from a 351 pupil place school to a 500, and I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but the school ended up building out their portion. And then there's about 12 acres or 11 acres maybe of undeveloped land to the south that there is no plan on, but that's jointly owned as well.
That's jointly owned, so that means, the reason I'm asking that is because there's probably a better chance that the school will grow and need another facility or expand their facility, and are we giving that away? Is part of the reason I'm asking the question.
Well, and I think the concept really, and the point to understand is that we're co-owners. So how those things are determined would be based on proportionate shares. So one, I think the land isn't developable. It's forested woodlot land, and there's some development constraints. So the likelihood of that happening is probably very slim. In the event that that did happen, if we're joint owners and one of the parties was looking at expansion, we would then say, okay, then if it's a dedicated use piece, what would the value be? That would be determined by an appraisal, and then there'd be compensation. But those are factors that you can't think of all of those things that are going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now, which is why we're joint owners, so that one party doesn't have more power than another party. And there's a governance structure in place that allows for the flexibility that when there are issues, you're not dealing with something prescriptive in an agreement, you're able to work through it and put some things in place to deal with whatever the matter is at that point in time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for those answers of clarity, CAO Bins. Okay, so Madam Clerk, do we want to pass all those and then we'll come back and deal with D? Is that the best, please?
Yes, I'll read the motion.
Yes, please do.
Moved by Shell, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that bylaw 2025-129 be pulled and voted on separately, and bylaw numbers 2025-119, 2025-120, 2025-128, and 2025-130 be passed in open council on the 10th day of December 2025.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Excuse me. Now can we deal with item D?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-129 be passed in open council on the 10th day of December 2025. Bylaw 2025-129, a bylaw of the Corporation of the Township of Oro-Medonte to provide for the imposition of fees and charges, and to repeal bylaw numbers 2024-130, 2025-048, 2025-054, and 2025-063 fees and charges bylaw. And that staff be directed to review and report back on Schedule I, permit parking, at the January 28, 2026 council meeting.
Thank you very much. Any comments regarding this draft bylaw? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Closed session items. May we have a motion to go into closed, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that we do now go into closed session at 4:28 p.m. to discuss a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, intermunicipal relationships, City of Orillia. Solicitor-client privilege, litigation affecting the municipality, West Half, Lot 11, Concession 8.
Okay. Call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? We'll see everyone in closed. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, we are live.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. May we have a motion to rise and report out from close, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that we do now rise at 5:08 p.m. and report on closed session items 18B and D.
All in favor? That is carried. May we have a draft motion for item 18B, please?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that the confidential correspondence presented by Sean Binns, CAO, re a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, intermunicipal relationships, a city of Aurelia, be received. That staff proceed as directed by council.
All in favor? That is carried. May we have a motion for draft motion 18D, please?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that the confidential correspondence presented by Sean Binns, CAO, and Ted Hill, Airden Beerless, LLP, re-solicitor client privilege litigation affecting the municipality, west half of Lot 11, Concession 8, be received. That staff and legal counsel proceed as directed by council.
All in favor? That is carried. And may we have a draft motion for the confirmation bylaw?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-132, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on Wednesday, December 10th, 2025, be passed in open council on the 10th day of December, 2025.
All in favor? That is carried. May we have a motion to adjourn, please?
Moved by Young, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 5:10 p.m.
All in favor? That is carried. And on behalf of council, I'd like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and thank the staff for an amazing year and wish everyone a Happy New Year. And we look forward to having another great year in 2026. So all the best. Stay safe, stay healthy over the holidays, and we'll see you in January.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.